You write in the Daily Beast that as a Muslim you go through certain steps of grief. I'd like you to expound on that a little bit.
Sure. I mean, the reality is when you hear about any kind of attack in America, and usually it's school shootings or mass shootings, and we don't know the identity of the assailant, I can tell you, with few exceptions, Muslims around the country hope the person who's done this horrible act is not Muslim. That's the first thing. The same thing happened when we saw the first original news from Paris. It was like 15 people or 18 people killed. It sounded like a typical mass shooting we have in America at that point. But still, we wish there were not Muslims involved. As it becomes clear in this case that it was Muslims, we go from this kind of... We go, actually, many of us, to depression. That's really where myself and many in my community were on Friday. The idea of despondency, that you're upset, the loss of life, and worst of all, this loss of life has been perpetrated by people using your faith. The faith that you believe in that brings you closer to God, these people are using it to bring them closer to their political agenda and destroying our faith. Then it goes to a sense of, little by little, outrage, I would say, and fear combined together. The fear being a backlash against our community. What will happen now? Will there be a spike in hate crimes against Muslim Americans or Muslims in France and Western countries? Will there be more discrimination? Will there be more surveillance of us here in America? Will we lose our civil liberties? Because polls show, even before this, about a majority of Americans had no problem with us losing our civil liberties because of our religion and allowing whole-scale surveillance. To finally now where our community is in its anger and its outrage, and it's palpable. We've had this before, but this is really the most broad I've seen it in recent times because of just the carnage involved. And it's anger towards ISIS. It's, really, people who have never heard curse, Muslims I've never heard curse in my life, have been cursing in emails and text messages and in conversations how angry they are at ISIS. And my other fear is that ISIS uses this for its other agenda, which is to recruit Muslims in the West, because they hope there's going to be a backlash against Muslims in the U.S. and the Western countries, because they could say, look, you're really not wanted there. They hate you because you're a faith. Come join us. Either come to the caliphate that they call the caliphate, and it's not a caliphate. It's not sanctioned by faith at all, but come join us or carry out some horrible act in your own country.
Okay.
So ISIS wants to see a backlash against Muslims. So, this is the roller coaster of emotion that myself and many in my community go through, and the frustration to make it clear to our fellow Americans that ISIS does not speak for Islam. We're not part of it. I'm not the exception because I'm the good guy. They're the exception. They're not part of my faith. Just like when some Christian blows up an abortion clinic or kills Dr. Tiller, I don't think that's Christianity. I know that's the exception.
No,
we don't have that yet.
Yeah, I get that for sure. I think Americans do as well. I just feel like we're going into a new phase, a new effort globally against these jihadists. Dean Obeidallah, good to have you with us here on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. You bet we'll do it again.